Hi, and welcome to Missouri Athletic Club Connections, a podcast highlighting Missouri's only premier athletic club. The MAC is recognized as the foremost private club in St. Louis, known for attracting exceptional people and enriching lives for generations. I'm MAC Communications Strategist Monica Ryan, and today we're talking about the MAC Hermann Trophy. The 2023 winners were announced at the Banquet on Friday, January 5th, 2024, and ahead of the Banquet, we had U.S. men's national team legend and current Fox broadcaster Alexi Lalas record his State of the Union podcast right here in the MAC studio, where he interviewed the finalists, City SC head coach Bradley Carnell, Bill McDermott, Mr. Soccer himself, and his former teammate and native St. Louisan Mike Sorber. It was very cool to be in the room for that, but before we turn it over to Alexi, with me today is past governor and MAC Hermann Trophy chairman Greg Beekman.
Hi, Monica.
Hi, thanks so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Of course. So first off, what is the MAC Hermann Trophy, and can you tell us a little about the history of the award?
MAC Hermann Trophy is awarded to the top men's and women's college soccer player each year. The history of the event, a man named Bob Hermann, who was a pioneer in U.S. soccer. He, among other things, started the National American Soccer League back in the 60s. He decided, I think in 1966, to establish this award to recognize, at the time, the men's college soccer player of the year. And then, when the women's programs started emerging, they were added to the award. So the award's been given out for a very long time. Sometime in the 80s, the MAC actually established its own separate award. So for, about 15, 20 years, there were two awards for the top players in college soccer, and in the early 2000s, with the help of the United Soccer Coaches, the college soccer coaches, our awards merged, and we've been working with the Hermann family ever since, so that there's one premier award for college soccer.
Very cool. So how did you get involved with the Banquet, and what does your role as chairman entail?
So coincidentally, when I was elected to the board in 2012, our predecessor, and I say our, so I am co-chair. I want to make it very clear. I am co-chair with my wife, Annie, who does actually a lot more work than I do on the Banquet. She's deals with all the high school teams and is great with the players. So definitely want to recognize that she is more than an equal partner in this thing. But our predecessor, Steve Krause, who was the chairman of the Hermann Banquet for 18 years prior to us getting involved, was ready to transition for somebody else to take over. So the president of the club at the time just knew that my wife and I had an interest in soccer, and my wife is a soccer coach, so that he asked us if we'd be interested in getting involved, and we said yes. And 11 years later, we're still going strong.
What was it like to have Alexi back at the club this year? Can you tell us a little bit about his history with the award?
Sure. Alexi was a winner in 1991. He was a defender at Rutgers. And then went on to a very prominent role on the men's national team, was very recognizable, huge shock of red hair and goatee, and was very kind of a star on the 1994 World Cup team and in MLS. He's as a past winner, just very invested in the award, very invested in college soccer, and having him back was amazing. I mean, he is the nicest person. First of all, we've 2 years in a row we've picked him up from the airport. We've kind of been his liaison to the club, and just could not be more kind and patient with anyone who wants to talk, take a picture, get an autograph, and enthusiastic about the event and the players. So we were thrilled to have him back this year as kind of to do the interviews, to be involved this time in the program, interviewing the winners, just really adds another level of excitement to the evening.
Yeah, just to like point out how nice he is. He was seen at our photo booth ahead, and he was taking a photo with Steve Albart's daughter's team. It was so cute. Yeah, the JB Marine girls.
Right.
And he was just having a blast, and he was like, "Girls, let's do a silly one." It was awesome.
Yeah. No, that captures it perfectly. Like have just both last year and this year just is. Can't say enough great things about his involvement and his presence here.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Chairman Beekman, and thank you for all the work you do on the MAC Hermann Trophy.
You're welcome. It was a great time.
It made for a great night, definitely. And with that, we'll turn it over to Alexi Lalas with his State of the Union podcast.
Hello, Sunshine. I'm Alexi Lalas, and welcome to a very special edition of the State of the Union podcast, coming to you from St. Louis, Missouri, home of the Missouri Athletic Club and the MAC Hermann Trophy.
It wasn't until maybe last year or so that I really thought that this is something serious for me.
You never want to be the person that takes over for the really, really good person. You want to be that next person.
Coming to U.S. without knowing any English.
We're the only place in the world where you can get your education and still play at a very high level.
I'd love to be like a pundit.
Bring it on. Bring it on.
I have one offer, and that was Western Michigan, and I was a walk-on.
I didn't think that anyone was going to be diligent enough to start the concept of a soccer-specific stadium.
I knew that I wanted to go to a good academic institution and get the best degree that I could.
Become like a soccer trainer and also just give back to the community.
All of a sudden we had match day 34 and winning the Western Conference, so yeah.
Everybody wants the USA to win a World Cup. I think we're all on board with that. How exactly that's going to happen, you're going to find a lot of different opinions on that one.
Thanks for tuning in for another amazing episode of Missouri Athletic Club Connections. Stay connected with us through the events calendar, MAC website, and social media, and we'll see you soon.